Well, hello there.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? How's everyone doing? Good times.
He's in the house.
I got to get you my new intro. Still using that old one. Anyway, welcome to Collector Fusion with us. Collector Fusion.
Special guest tonight.
We do. We do. Go ahead, Jared. Introduce.
Well, we have a long-time regular for the channel and on Discord, Bronson, and welcome to join us. He's got a new Kickstarter with several talented artists with a horror sci-fi anthology comic on Kickstarter. And he was able to join us tonight, which was really cool. We talked about his project and share some of his artwork, which he's working on a great piece right now.
Indeed. Yeah. What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on.
By the way, is that music too loud?
Nah.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure. Usually you do all the music, so
yeah,
it's your studio, so I don't know. Anyway.
There we go. We can get a little more broader view, close-up view of his artwork.
Oh, you can see all the imperfections. Cool.
Oh, I love your art style. It's just the crispness of it, and it's got a lot of like motion to it too. It's like and I really dig it.
Thanks, man. Thank you. I try to do my best.
Do you want to tell us anything about the project or on how it got started?
Yeah. So, the guy that put it together, organized it, it's my friend Josh Makis. He's an artist, and he recently graduated from the Cuber School. He reached out to me and was like, "Hey, man, I'm putting this, the sci-fi horror project together with some other artists, and would you be down to, do like a short comic for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So, I was already in the process of doing a piece for this sci-fi newspaper called Mass Cybernetics, and that's when I first drew the character Shotgun Monkey, which is literally just a chimp with a shotgun. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I could just turn this into a comic." So yeah, that's how that came about. And it's this 40-page black and white sci-fi horror anthology. It's 6 unique artists, including myself, and it's black and white, standard comic size. It's on Kickstarter right now. We're like a little under halfway funded. I think there's like 24 days left, something like that.
I believe we do have the link in the description box, and I'm going to drop it in the chat there too.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But
and yeah, so it's myself, Josh Makis, H.R. Keene, Trent Williams, Lana Liz, and Trey Patterson. And I really only knew Josh. I guess he's friends with everybody else, but they're all like really cool artists, and there are 4 comics in the story, I believe, and 2 like single illustrations. So my story, Shotgun Monkey, is literally like, it's in the title. It's about this chimp with a shotgun that is a hitman, basically. He's kind of like on this job, and it kind of goes, not as planned. It gets pretty silly. I say this all the time, but like every comic that I've come up with, it's just been like, "Oh, I think this will be funny, so I'll just do that." So yeah, there's that. And then Josh Makis' comic is like a apocalyptic horror zombie thing where it's like set in this future, and this guy is kind of like on the run trying not to get infected or contaminated, and it's really cool. Trent Williams has this story called The Life of Jimmy Mars. It's about this guitarist who's like desperate to make it big, and he meets this mysterious figure that kind of changes his life forever with just a handshake. It's a really dope story. who else? There's H.R. King. He has a story called "Who Wins the Rat Race." I honestly don't want to get into that because it's really cool. It's kind of best to like know nothing when you read that one.
Mm-hmm. You know, on the Kickstarter, you got a little sample artwork of each of the different stories.
Yep. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, they're all everybody in there is great. Me, not so much. I'm all right. But
modest. Like I said, I love your art style.
Thank you, man. And yeah, there's we got multiple rewards tiers, so you can get a well, for one, there's just a support tier. You could just give us $1 if you want. And there you can get the digital copy, which is $5. The physical book, which is 40 pages, black and white, that's 10. And there's an art print option, that's 30. So you'll get, I know I'm doing a print of, my character, Shotgun Monkey, and there will be other options, I think. And there's the $80 tier, which is you get a white sketch in your book from one of the artists, but I think that's limited to 10. I think we're at 9 or 10 right now. And there's also a commission tier for 100, so you can get a commission from any of the artists. Nice. I think you get to choose which one.
That's a great deal too for commission artwork for $100.
Yeah, definitely. And those are limited to 10 too. I think we're still at 10 and 10 right now, so good time to get on that. Yeah, man, it's just really cool. Like the way Josh put it together. He knew all of these people, and he kind of carefully selected who he wanted, and everybody brought their A game. Seriously.
Well, how long have you been drawing?
I've been drawing my entire life, as far back as I can remember. I think so. My high school was a visual and performing arts high school.
Oh, cool!
Got some of my training, mostly just like fine art stuff. Nothing really like comic related, just like still life and gesture drawing, important stuff. But yeah, nothing centered around comics.
Yeah.
And in high school, I picked up filmmaking, and that was my thing for a long time. I still do it, just not as much. And yeah, around January last year, I just started taking comics a bit more seriously. One of my friends was basically like, "Man, you should just do a comic," and I was like, "Okay, cool."
Well, all those skills together too helps work with the film creation too, like planning out your scenes and stuff. And
yeah, definitely.
Comic books is basically like a storyboards, like setup. Like when you're doing movies and films, people do storyboard, planning out the action and scenery. The comic books is right there and doing just that.
Exactly.
But more detailed.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, man, to be honest, like going into comics and just the art world in general, it's been a lot more rewarding. The community is a lot better than photographers and filmmakers. Yeah, got a lot of pretentious people in that world.
They want to just get their name out type thing. It's like
yeah. And this is like a lot more.
It's less of an art form and more like how they want to like climb to the top.
Yeah, definitely. People will like walk directly over you with that shit.
Yeah. What? Movie industry's like that?
Right. Surprise. Yeah.
Is this a commission piece you're working on, or is this for like something you're doing yourself?
No, this is just for fun. Like,
Nice.
So you have to look at my face. I might, who knows? I might put this up for sale or something. Who knows? But no, this is just for fun. I am taking commissions though.
Very cool. Get your Kickstarter. Get words coming out of my mouth, then it's not coming out too good tonight. Your Instagram is down below as well, and your LinkTree. So you have different ways to contact Brunson down below.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'm gonna throw this up here.
Cool. Yeah, I've been watching the streams for a while. I usually catch them after the fact because I sleep all day.
So this is a taste for everybody out there looking. This is the Kickstarter page that, again, is in the link in the description of the video and all that stuff. And this is just a taste. It's a tease of what you got going on there.
I love the style. Everybody's style on this is just something about like bold black and white comics. I love them.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of being a kid back in the 80s, because I'm old, being a kid back in the 80s and going to the bookstore and getting a hold of all the like rated R comics that, you know, that at like, 10, you're not supposed to read. But like, I don't know why, but that's what black and white comics remind me of is like the comics I'm not supposed to read when I was a kid. Because you're like, okay, you read the Marvel, you read the DC, whatever, but then there's, all the stuff back here that you're not supposed to look at, but you sneak back there and pull stuff out of the box and whatever else. And so, yeah, that's what I remember black and white comics when I was a kid. But like, so, I mean, obviously you're drawing characters and doing comic books and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's like, I got to ask, what's your favorite comic book?
My favorite comic book. I mean, I'm a huge.
It doesn't even have to be anything that's still made, but like, what's been your favorite comic book?
I don't know if I could pick out a single one, but I am a huge Punisher fan. I got a big Punisher like collection.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was my.
I just met my best friend.
I
got all my Punisher #1s up on the wall behind me. Well, you can't see them on camera, but I got them all framed. I got my Punisher Limited Series #1, my Punisher regular series, Punisher War Journal, Punisher Armory, and Punisher Warzone #1 that I keep all up on the wall. Punisher and Captain America, my two favorite characters.
Oh, that's cool. I was actually going to draw a work on a Captain America, but I didn't get it done in time for this. So,
and it was just like a icing on the cake when they the Ultimates did the Punisher was Cap for a little while.
Yeah,
it was great. It was like the best of both worlds. I like the dichotomy of those two characters because they're both two very opposite sides of the same very American coin. Like they are the two titular, like when you think of what would an American superhero be, it'd be be all like red, white, and blue, or shoot them with guns. Like those are the two. You know what I mean? Like they're the two most American superheroes that exist, I think, for different reasons. And they're very intricate characters, even though, despite the fact that a lot of times people don't think they are, they think they're very one-dimensional characters, but they're not. So I take it you do like Wolverine, since that is what you are.
Yeah, definitely.
What you got there? Is that like? So when you were a kid reading comics, like what was the stuff? What got you into comics? Like what got you into comics? And then I'm assuming that, made you want to start drawing comic book characters and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I'm younger than you guys. I'm 27. So I grew up like, honestly, when I was a kid, it was like comic adjacent thing, movies and TV shows. The only comics I could really get, because there's not a shop in my city. Most of the comics I got were with the Toy Biz Marvel Legends figures. So you were getting like the reprints of all the best stories, because that's what they would pack in there. Right. Yeah.
Was they would take like some of the best stories, or sometimes it would just be like some of the ones with the coolest cover art. Like they throw some Jim Lee cover art for something in there, even if it wasn't the best story.
Yeah. Definitely.
And they throw that in the clamshell, and so.
Yeah, and then once I could get books, I was definitely getting, like I said, Punisher is my guy, so I was really into that. Getting the Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, that era.
Yeah,
that was like perfect timing for me.
Well, that was kind of like a renewed era for Punisher too at that time.
Yeah.
Because Punisher through the 90s, I don't know, he had gotten kind of abused a little bit by the 90s extreme everything.
Angel of Death.
And yeah, Garth Ennis kind of brought him back down to earth and got him in that series, which was what were they calling it? Marvel Max, right?
Yeah.
The rated R version of Marvel.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job with those stories. I got a question since you're a Punisher fan. What do you think of modern Punisher?
I'm not keeping up with it too much. Like all the, I guess you mean like the hand stuff and all that.
Yeah, it just seems like, and I'll be the first one to be real honest. I don't read a lot of comic books anymore. I'm very picky, and most of what I read is independent stuff. I don't read Marvel and DC anymore, even though I grew up on Marvel and DC. But Punisher is a character that if they were doing good stuff, I would still be reading them. But it seems like they've just really neutered him as a character because of, I think, political correctness more than anything else.
Yeah.
And Marvel's been so scared to really delve into who Punisher is as a character that they've just kind of backed off of him a lot, which I think is a shame because, and I don't know, maybe you have a different, that's your favorite character. Maybe you got a different view of him. But for me, the reason I loved Punisher was because he was the guy that did what nobody else would because everybody else was corrupt. The bad guys were corrupt. The good guys were corrupt. I'm not trying to get political or anything, but he showed that, like, hey, even the cops are the bad guys, which I still kind of agree with. And it seemed like they kind of backed off a lot of that. And I think they did it for political reasons and things.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of comic companies are doing things nowadays, which I think is a shame because I think these stories, certainly for me growing up, there was plenty of politics in comic books. It'd be hard not to. That's the reason, why at the time, and things like Black Panther getting his own series was a big deal,
Right.
in what was that, 68 or whatever it was, right? So because they weren't afraid to be a little political and stuff. But now people, because of movies and everything, are taking all this stuff so seriously, and because movies become big and then they get TV shows and everything else,
right?
I think these comic companies are worried more about being PC and doing what they think is the right thing instead of just making good stories. And I think it's hurting the comic book industry. It certainly got people like me and a lot of people I know to really stay away from those bigger companies and read more stuff like yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's where I might actually get some good stories and some good characters and get some entertainment value as opposed to just getting, PC bullshit.
Yeah. And
I want to see these characters be the characters that I remember, or I want to see people taking chances with their stories and with their characters.
I want to see a Nate with a shotgun blow some people's faces off.
Yes, exactly. And one of my favorite comics right now is Saga, because Saga's just insane, and nobody Marvel and DC aren't doing that. They're too worried about, we got to not offend anybody, and we got to change Punisher's logo into whatever that hand foot thing is.
They killed Frank off.
Yeah, they killed Frank and they replaced him with some other dude, some blonde-headed dude.
What's even worse, they had to humiliate him before they killed him off.
Yeah.
Well, Frank's wife still be alive, and she's the one that killed him because she couldn't stand what he was anymore.
Again, this is why I don't read that stuff anymore. Because, and that too, I think, is the other thing is, I so much more appreciate and respect what you do than what any of these people that are currently working for Marvel and DC do, because, and look, it's and I understand that, you know, I'm sure all those people that are doing Marvel and DC right now, whether they're doing Superman or Batman or Punisher or whatever it is, right? Like they all started probably like you did, doing their own comics and stuff.
Yeah.
But then they get in and they're like, oh, well, I have this IP that everybody likes now, so let me do something completely different with the character, instead of going like, what, you know, hey, well, if I want to do this, maybe I can create a new character or a new storyline or something. Why do I have to change this already existing thing that people like? And again, that goes back to why I found myself like way more interested in smaller publishers and independent titles and things like that nowadays, because they're actually doing cool stuff with cool characters and new characters. And it's not like, you know, well, let me just come in and ruin something that people have loved for 60 years or whatever.
Right.
You know, and it's just at a certain point, you're just like, I don't know. And so I'd rather read, you know, anything other than Marvel and DC. I've got my good memories.
And the current writers for like in like the big publishers right now, they don't understand what makes a hero. Yeah. They write characters to be narcissistic and like being heroic for selfish reasons.
I think it was I just want to get to talking about Punisher, but I think that was an interview with Jerry Conway where he was saying like comics now, you know, writers, we kind of make things, well, they make things like pretty personal and kind of like, you know, stuff about adulthood and this and that. And that's why it comes off like very cynical and narcissistic and shit like that. It's like, you know, you have to make stuff for like kids too. Like those are the future readers. It's like,
yeah,
if you can't get them interested, then like,
well, and it's one thing, because comics have always done this since they've existed. It's one thing to have comics adjust in certain ways as time moves on, right? Like, you know, we have to accept the fact that Peter Parker's only aged like maybe 20 years in the last 60 years, right? So when you're doing those stories, right, like he's got to evolve, or at least the world around him has to evolve in ways, and he certainly has, and that goes with every comic character. But you don't change the core of who the character is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, I think that's what a lot of people are doing, and I think that's why more and more people are appreciating independent books.
Mm-hmm.
Is because of that. Because they're tired of, you know, they have their comic collections and they got their books that they remember and that they love, and their stories they love, and their characters they love, and they don't want to see those characters get ruined. So okay, well, let's go find new characters. And so in a way, I mean, I think it's good for artists like you that get to go do something new, and people are going to be more interested in it than they would if, you know, Spider-Man was still the greatest thing in the world or whatever, right? Which is cool. But I think that's why there's that lean in because I've certainly noticed it, and I'm not, again, I don't even, you know, collect comic books the way I used to, you know, and I only read a handful of titles and things like that. So, and even I've noticed that there's a big push when I go into, you know, me and Jared's good friend Quinn, who owns a comic shop here. And he, you know, he's like 20 minutes from my house, and I go down there, and there's a big push. Even when people come in the shop, you know, yeah, maybe they want that new, you know, because the movie came out, they want that new run for Deadpool or something, right? But the rest of their stack is all independent books.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because those are the more interesting things that are out now. Those are the things where you're, you know, and again, and the cool thing about it is because it, you know, that's where new ideas should be.
Well, it's like my friend up here, it's got a comic book shop up here as well. His high selling books are independent books right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Skybound Transformer series, it's very indie feeling, even though it's a big IP, but it's got like a gritty, like indie feel to it now.
Yeah.
It's selling like crazy. That's his top selling book.
I think another thing, and I'm definitely, like I said, I'm not keeping up with Marvel or DC. It's another thing is that this so many events, and like, you know, if you just randomly jump into X-Men right now, you're not gonna know what the fuck is going on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like hard to keep up with all of that shit.
They want you to buy every
So, yeah,
title
that's
and
why.
make they'll do this big giant crossover.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think that's why. Well, yeah, I just follow artists now, honestly, more than anything.
Yeah.
Like Daniel Johnson and James Herron, stuff like that. Just indie
Let
guys.
me ask you this, because I, you know, as somebody who I've never drawn comic book, I used to draw when I was a kid. In fact, I wanted to go to art school, and then I didn't have the discipline to do that. But so when I was a kid and I was real big into comic books back in the 80s and 90s, I used to draw all the time. But as somebody who is an artist and is putting your own books together and things like that, and I know for you it's probably very different because you're writing and drawing and you're doing everything, which obviously makes a big difference. But I know because there was this big push, and I feel like it's gone back and forth a lot throughout my lifetime of what's more important, the artist or the writer. And of course, you know, you can go back to the heyday of the comic artist stars, which was like the 90s with your Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld and, you know, all those guys that started Image and that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of people saying, oh no, the artist is by far the most important part of that equation. And then you've got people like me, my opinion, honestly, is I'd rather have less good art, but unique art. And have, you know, have a Chris Claremont or someone write the story. But I'm just curious, what, you know, like, since you do both, what do you think like is more important going into a comic book?
I mean,
or is it equal for you?
Maybe equal, but I don't know. I mean,
I have bought a lot of books because of beautiful cover.
fair enough.
Well, I mean, I have too, especially because I got caught up in it back in the 90s. I was collecting comic books back then, you know, when Image Comics was formed. And so, you know, I did a lot of that. I think every comic book collector did at some point during that period. If you were collecting comics at that point, you know, you were like, oh, this cover looks awesome. Because, you know, Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane or somebody would do the cover art. Of course, you'd open the book up and it was somebody you've never heard of doing the panels and stuff. But, you know, we've all done that. And there's some great, I mean, just absolutely gorgeous covers out there. That alone is worth having the book, you know.
What kills me though is like when you have a beautiful cover and it's the same cover artist on every book of that same title, but the interior artist is mediocre. The Captain Marvel series, when Carol Danvers first became Captain Marvel, absolute gorgeous covers, and that's why I started picking up the book. And the interiors was god awful, and that's why I quit getting the book too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's kind of equal. I don't know.
I mean, it is a visual medium, so I mean, the art should be as important as the story because that's how you're telling the story,
right?
Yeah.
You know, is through the art.
Oh, with the Captain Marvel book, where the issue with that too is like, yeah, the interior artwork was terrible, but also the story was terrible too. So, why I keep collecting it? Of course, if I kept collecting it, I would have got the first Kamala Khan and like 2 more issues. But I was like, damn it, even though it was a trash book, but I could have had a very valuable book.
I think, I mean, because there's a lot of independent stuff, like what I do, that has great art, but the story is like not bad, but it's just very simple, but it's still like really good and worth it.
Yeah.
So I think there's like an expectation thing too, you know?
Well, and I think probably, I'm sure, you know, like when you're doing your books, so you know, you're probably, whether you're doing the art first or running through a storyline first or whatever, you're essentially in your head probably doing both at the same time, you know, and so you're making them work together. And I think to go to that, I mean, even when you don't have one person doing artwork and stories, that when you get two people that works really well together, they might as well be one person at that point. And the art just perfectly marries with the story that's going on. But then there are books that are, I mean, there was a ton of books that I remember growing up that were just the exact opposite. They'd have beautiful art and just absolutely horrific stories, or vice versa, where it's just like, it doesn't work. You're like, this doesn't fit together somehow,
With me, it's got to be one or the other. If it's both, it's incredible piece. But if it's got okay art and a fantastic story, I'll keep buying the book no matter what. But if it's okay, mediocre story and fantastic art, I will buy the book. But it's got to have one or the other. If it's terrible art and terrible story, gone.
Well, for me, when I started to realize how much those two went together and really, really mattered, because I don't think I'd ever really noticed it before Image Comics came out. And no offense to those dudes, but most of them couldn't write a story to save their life. You know what I mean? They were all excellent artists, and whether it was, again, Valentino or Silvestri or McFarlane or Liefeld, even though he can't draw feet, whatever it is, like I loved the art. But you would open up an episode, you would open up an issue of Youngblood and just be like, what is this shit? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, this is just an excuse to write a bunch of draw a bunch of splash pages, and the story is paper thin. And there was there was some good stuff. I liked Wetworks. I liked Savage Dragon, even though I've heard that Eric Larson is a horrible human being. I like his art, and I thought Savage Dragon was a great book.
It's a shame he turned the current Savage Dragon book into a porn book.
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't read it in a long time, so I don't know what it's like that. I love when Savage Dragon came out.
I picked it up. Oh, I like Savage Dragon. I picked the book up and started flipping through it. It's like, what the?
Is he still drawing it?
I don't know. I think he is.
I was always a huge fan of Eric Larson's art. I always liked Eric Larson's Spider-Man better than McFarlane's, which I know is somewhat controversial. I think Eric Larson was I liked his kind of unique style, his slightly more blocky, animated look to his characters as opposed to McFarlane's. And I don't want to say overdone, but like compared to Eric Larson's overdone pencils. McFarlane and they're both great artists. They're both amazing artists, and I could never do anything close to what they do. But I'm just saying, like, I always loved McFarlane's take on Spider-Man and that kind of stuff better than I like McFarlane. So when he did Savage Dragon, I was like, this is awesome. And I thought he did I thought it was a really good story, but he's also done 300, 400 issues of that. So I don't even know where it's at anymore, but I don't know. I don't know.
That is a good point Dolph Brodo brought up. Like with Eric Larson, he does his stuff like Japanese comics. The characters age. They get older. They mature, and like they don't stay in a fixed point like the mainstream comics.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess sometimes, and this is again going back to why I go to independent comics. I miss just good, pure stories like what I used to get back in the Chris Claremont days. And I keep referring to him because I think he's probably, my opinion, the best comic book writer that I've ever read as far as mainstream comics go. Mm-hmm. And I just don't feel like there's a lot of people doing that. And I think part of it might be because of the fact that every IP now has to be like, ooh, this could be a movie. So we've got it's complete publisher control over story and things like that. And maybe people just aren't getting a chance to, outside of the independent scene, to do really cool, unique stuff. Because again, you look back at like what Chris Claremont did with X-Men starting in the late 70s all throughout the 80s into the early 90s, right? Mm-hmm. And when he started doing what he was doing, it was like, yeah, you can do that because here's a dead book that, X-Men was just doing reissues. That's all they were doing at the time.
Right.
You know, starting with like issue 62 or whatever it was. They were just retelling the older stories because they were like, it's a crap dying book. They didn't want him to do that to any of their flagship titles, you know, like Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or Avengers or Captain America or anything like that. They're like, you can have X-Men. And he was just doing these really intricate character story arcs that, you know, like very evocative of what's going on in independent comics and has been for a while, but certainly wasn't something that Marvel or DC was doing at the time. And it worked really, really well. And, you know, everybody forgets that when he started doing X-Men, nobody cared about X-Men. Nobody cared about X-Men. Nobody gave a crap about Xavier and Cyclops and all these characters, you know, and he made that through beautiful storytelling become like the number one selling comic book of, is it still like, isn't X-Men #1 still the number one selling comic book of all time? Like it sold more issues than any other comic book ever, you know? So
it's up there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that and like Superman 75 or something.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the Death Superman and X-Men #1 are the two top books. I don't know which one's which.
Yeah. So I don't know. I grew up on comic books.
Don't get rich with Death Superman, and they sold millions of copies.
Yeah.
They're not realizing that after selling millions, makes the book worthless after a few years.
Oh yeah. It was totally worthless. I'm glad I cashed in on all the issues I had bought early on. But no, I mean, I grew up just like comic books were, as I've told this story many times. I mean, I learned how to read at 4 years old, reading my mother's old 60s Superman comics. That's how I learned to read. And so they've always been like, you know, that era, you know, that I grew up with has always been really, really important to me, which I think is the other reason why I just don't want to read modern stuff, because it's just like, oh, you're just going to ruin my childhood now. You know? So independent books, I think, are much preferable for me and for a lot of people. I mean, when you like, so let me ask you this. I mean, you're doing independent books and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it one of these things where like, because I'm sure it is to some level, some degree, like, that at some point you'd love to get a chance to do something with like a Marvel or a DC?
Yeah, it just, I mean,
yeah, which makes sense. Yeah,
I'm gonna say yes to whatever I get offered.
Yeah,
that, you know, but there's definitely like stuff I would rather do more than others. You know, I mean, I would love to do a Punisher comic, you know, but it just kind of, whether or not I'm happy with it, you know, it depends on. You know, hopefully there's no.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, at a certain level, too, right? Like if you got brought in and said, hey, we want you to do artwork on this Punisher comic, and then the comic itself is just the most horrendous story ever. I mean, you're not going to turn that down. It's like, well, I get to draw Punisher. Like I can just, you know what I mean? Like if for no other reason than because you can say you got to draw Punisher, you know? So, I mean, I get that completely. And I'm sure that's where a lot of people are in the comic industry right now.
I would hope the page rates are pretty good right now too, and for the big two.
Yeah, man, I'm cool with the story could be bad as long as I get to draw some cool shit.
Yeah, and I completely get that. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean,
yeah.
You know, if I was in that situation, it's like, oh, I'm an artist. Like, hell yeah, you want me to draw? I don't know. Captain Marvel, I hate her, but I'll draw the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever it is, you know. Like, yeah, no, I completely get it. It makes sense. And then you do it and you hope that like, okay, well, I hope they wrote a good story and I hope this works. And
right, yeah.
You know, at least I got to do my best with the character, you know. So
yeah, definitely.
So do you have, I don't know what you can or can't say or want to say, but like, are you working on any other books? Like,
yeah. So my creator owned book, Ghostman, you know, first issue was out. I'm currently working on the second one.
Which is linked down below too.
Oh, what'd you say?
I put a link to Ghostman #1 down below as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, here's the first one right here. Got a copy. It's 44 pages. Got a 12-page bonus story in it. It's black and white, printed on newsprint. The Cosmic Lion Productions. Yeah, so I'm currently working on the second one now. It'll be about just as long, about 40 something pages. And then let's see, what else? I'm working on some other stuff I can't talk about yet, but yeah, I definitely got a lot of stuff on my way for sure. But Ghostman is kind of the main thing.
Yeah. And I'm looking at that Wolverine you're drawing, and then this Batman and Clayface here.
I love just the action feel of that Clayface Batman.
Well, I love that. I also just love. I don't know how to explain it. There's a certain almost cross between like an animated or even anime style to like the faces. That just it looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that
And it's not cartoony, but it's got like a little flavor to it with that art style. I don't know how to explain it.
It's funny with that one because the night before I drew that, I was like looking at some artists that I really like, and honestly, some of my friends were artists, and just looking at their work, and some just kind of clicked. I was like, oh, okay, I know what kind of artist I want to be. I know what I want to do now. And I woke up the next morning and immediately got to working on that piece. So I'm like really happy with that one. One of my favorites.
Yeah, and to go back to what Jared was saying, I mean, just like looking at this and watching you do that Wolverine, just the really, really clean, crisp, hard, bold line work just pops. I mean, it really, really does.
I love that style of inking. It's just...
I really appreciate it. Like I said, I try my best.
Yeah, I'm just now getting to go through these because Jared just sent them over before the chat. So I'm just now getting to go through some of these pictures here.
Oh, the Spider-Man and Green Goblin. Yeah, that was another one that was just for fun.
I mean, I'm looking at some of the like this is cover art stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, I keep clicking out of it. Yeah, that looks like a comic cover. Tell me that's a comic cover, isn't it?
It's not a cover, but it's a piece for a book called Heel Turn from writer artist Mike Haw. So like a deathmatch wrestling comic. It's really cool.
Yeah, it looks like something that could be cover art there.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, the sketch covers I did. Those are pretty fun.
I love that one.
That one, oh yeah, that's for Jerk Comic on YouTube. Piece for him.
Now, when you're doing this stuff, because I don't know what the latest and greatest of what social media and the internet have brought about when it comes to comics and stuff. But I know, like, I come across stuff all the time online where people are like posting stuff up and posting their books on YouTube as like videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that something you've ever thought about doing or would even want to do? And I know it's probably because there's people just trying to get their artwork out there. So they, they'll write up a book and just basically do a flip book essentially for YouTube.
Kind of like not quite a motion comic, but something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never, I could do it. I've never thought about that. It would probably be something, I would probably make it specifically for that.
Yeah.
Like I probably wouldn't do that with Ghostman or, some of the other stuff I got coming up, but.
Almost, or maybe like do like a little short story to be like an advertisement for Ghostman.
Yeah.
You could do a horror comic about a guy from Virginia who's a huge toy collector. And one night he's after one of his podcasts, there's a storm and lightning strikes the house, and all his action figures come to life and start trying to kill him, and he can't get out of the house because he's got so many motherfucking action figures in his house that they can overwhelm him.
Toys
And in the end, it's Optimus Prime that takes him out. That sound fun, Jared?
Yeah, yeah.
Optimus Prime figures. I got the Yellow Park Optimus Prime like right here. I was using it for reference.
Oh, nice.
These.
Toys Come to Life. That reminds me of Small Soldiers. If anybody remembers that movie.
I am so tempted to order those. The Yellow Park G1 Prime and Megatron.
Man, it's so good. So good.
Well, so you showed Optimus Prime, and you were talking about, buying early Toy Biz Marvel Legends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So and you've obviously watched the show, as you said. So how big of a toy collector are you? Is it just something you just have a few here and there, or do you?
I mean, I don't think about.
You have an obsession like some of us do, where we just spend way too much money.
I'm not to the level of you guys. I definitely would be if I could afford it, because for me, it's usually like, I want to get this, but I need art supplies, so maybe I should.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to afford it. That's what credit cards are for.
Do that. But yeah, I got a decent
You're
amount.
not a toy collector if you're not in crippling debt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, what are some of the things that you like to collect? Is it just like, as I know some people just like, oh, that looks cool, let me pick it up. And then some people like myself, I focus more on certain lines and things. Or is there like anything in particular that you like the most when it comes to any toys out there, any toy lines?
Yeah, I mostly get Marvel Legends. I got quite a few G.I. Joe classifieds. I was getting some. I got like a handful of McFarlane figures, but I not really into those.
Yeah, you don't want too many of those.
Yeah. But let's see. Not too many Transformers. You guys were talking about the Armada Starscream like not too long ago.
Yeah,
I got that one. I want to get more Transformers, but for some reason I just never pull the trigger on them. And I'm a huge Transformers guy. I don't know.
the mainline stuff is so good right now too.
Yeah, definitely.
I've said it a few times. Like if the mainline was as good as it was a few years ago when Masterpiece started, I never would have got into Masterpiece because they're like small, scaled down Masterpiece figures, especially a lot of the Studio Series stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't. But yeah, mostly Transformers and pretty much Hasbro, I guess.
Everyone's Papa's telling you to show off your Punisher.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me see.
I'm trying to make him work, man. What the hell?
I don't have the newest one, the 2-pack with Bushwhacker, but if I can find it, hopefully it's in this drawer right here. 1 second.
I really like that new one with the Bushwhacker.
Yeah,
that new body is just so great.
Box of Cannon's asking, why the Plastic Man? Well, Plastic Man's the mascot of my channel, and he's a running joke on our show.
Right. Because JB loves his Plastic Man.
He's a running joke on our channel, on the show, and he's also the face of my channel. So,
Sometimes the face, sometimes the crotch of your show.
Hey, the Geek and the Collector started this trend of JB and the Plastic Man. So I took it and ran with it. Now it's part of my channel.
It's true. We did just kind of push that on you.
Yeah, you can literally watch one of my videos. He's on the intro and he's on the outro. He's even got his own theme song if you watch all the way through.
JB loves Plastic Man.
No, it's the Plastic Man theme.
Art supplies are very expensive, as Box of Can says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're like me and you draw every single day.
Alpha Pro said at one point he couldn't leave Hobby Lobby without spending $100.
Oh, my wife goes to Hobby all the time.
Oh, the new Commander Class Optimus, I got it on pre-order. The Studio Series. I'm so looking forward to that.
Here we go.
Box
Yeah,
again. Did you say McFarlane is whack? Nice. That's like a Ray Stevenson Punisher.
Yeah. Which
Is that the writer's head?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, here, I'll show you something.
They look like Ray Stevenson, but in the classic costume, which now makes me wish you actually wore it.
Yeah. He's definitely my favorite live action Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P.
Irwin was telling you to hurry up.
Yeah, I think he wants you to draw Punisher. That's what he's saying. Like, come on, draw Punisher.
I love that Voltron too, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks. I got a Punisher drawing right here, actually. It's a little small one that I did like a month or two ago. Maybe like
Nice.
Nice. And he's got an AA-12 and everything.
Oh yeah, that Voltron. That was a commission. That one. I mean, I watched some Voltron as a kid, not a lot. Like I would catch reruns, and the dude told me he wanted to do it. And I was like, okay, I want to draw him in space, and I was trying to figure out the pose for the longest time, and it was just, I don't know, it was just so hard to figure out what I wanted to do, and then I finally got it done, and then I posted it in I tagged the Voltron like official account, and they reposted it and told me it was really cool, and like that kind of made it all worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And it's so clean looking. And one thing I'm noticing as I'm going through your art here is that you don't do what I see a lot of artists do, which is to try and, like, especially this is a great example of it. What I've seen, and again, this is just from reading comics, and I'm no artist, so maybe I'm talking out my ass, but what I notice a lot of times is when artists are trying to cover up maybe potential flaws in a drawing, they tend to over pencil the hell out of it. Yeah. Just lots of extra lines, and let me over detail it, and lots of shading and this and that and whatever else. And your stuff's just so clean looking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And it can be clean looking because it's good art.
Yeah.
And I think, and look, and again, I'm judging people for doing something that I certainly can't do. So, who am I to sit here and talk about it? And I'm sure a lot of what plays into that is, when you're doing 20, 30 pages a week or something at a certain point, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you gotta be like, not everything can be my best. I can't spend all my time. So I'm somebody from outside bitching about something I know nothing about. And I'm not really bitching, but you know what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I appreciate that. The stuff I'm looking at is just it's just so clean looking. It's so clean and crisp. I love the bold lines. And I think that, and there's the Punisher again. And I think that might be, and maybe that's why to me it has almost like an anime or a cartoon feel, because not because the artwork is like that, but because of just the clean, crisp, bold lines that a lot of times you don't see in comics, but you do see in like cartoons or anime or stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
That type of, yeah. That's an awesome Doctor Strange.
AK here is like, need to hide a mistake at a pouch.
Yeah, there you go. Or just have the feet be just out of frame. That's Liefeld's motto. Although, no, to give Liefeld credit, he did draw a lot of feet. They were awful, but he did draw a lot of feet. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, dude. That'd make a great tattoo.
The trading card. Yeah. Thanks.
That's awesome.
I have gotten people, well, at least one guy in particular, got a few pieces from me tattooed on him. That was really cool. That Apocalypse, I did got a tattoo of that on his bicep.
Nice. That's a good one. If you won't get one, that Apocalypse is just badass.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, here, maybe you would appreciate this. I got to show off a toy at least some point during this chat.
I've been showing them off. What are you talking about? Look, I got.
Nobody cares about your McFarlanes, okay?
Yeah, I got.
Before we move on from the Punisher, I just think it's hilarious. Like I had a guy get triggered for my review on the Punisher
Oh,
because I like disc hinge necks better than double ball pegs,
Mhm.
and he just went nuts.
Yeah. Some people are
No,
just.
He thinks it's ridiculous because I want my figures to be able to look up.
I prefer a disc hinge. I prefer that more than anything. I wish all wrestling figures that I collect had those.
Disc is like when the first few waves of G.I. Joe, where you had a disc hinge up top, ball peg at the bottom. That's what Spiro does.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one. This is the Punisher that I just finished.
Hmm.
This is my custom Punisher that I just finished here.
Oh, nice.
Wait, didn't Hasbro already release that one?
I'm sorry. Did you say you want to suck my dick? Is that? I didn't quite hear that, JB. It sounded like you said, "Hey, Matt, I want to suck your dick." I'm sorry. I was just hearing that. No, this is
Hasbro has totally released a Punisher on a G.I. Joe body.
Yeah.
That's
anyway.
good.
Yeah, this is my Punisher from a G.I. Joe Gung Ho body with a Mezco Ghost Rider shirt that I had to paint the skull on, which is kind of a bitch. But yeah. Anyway, that's the new one I just finished working on a few days ago.
Yeah.
But let's see. I'm trying to check the comments. Did we miss anything relevant in the comments?
Not really.
Let me see.
Wow. Wait. Nice, JB. Are you saying that if people in our comment section don't have anything good to contribute?
Well, I tried.
Are you just like, nah, they don't got nothing. There's nothing relevant out there.
I tried.
Erwin was laughing about you telling JB to suck your dick.
Uh-huh.
That's relevant.
I tried to set it to show on stage if it's a comment or something, but it won't let me. That's why.
It's because you're not an admin.
I love how like we will talk shit about JB, completely joking, and he takes us seriously. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Dude, I'm messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
I know you're messing with me.
You're the youngest one on the chat, so we have to mess with you.
I'm the youngest. I'm 27.
You're still a fetus. You're only 2 years older than my son. I mean, come on.
I know, right?
God.
Yeah, I just turned 27 in June.
Oh, so you're 2 months older than me. I'm in August.
So you're still the youngest one.
We're both the youngest.
Oh, we're both fetus in these.
He's older. The youngest one is always the fetus.
You're still the fetus. Still the fetus of the show.
Darn it.
Sorry, but you have to live with that. Accept it. That's what it is.
Unless, of course, I bring in like my brother or something who's younger than me, then you'll have to call them a fetus.
We'll call him Fetus Junior.
And Cannon's very serious about hating McFarlane.
Yes.
He can hate. Okay. McFarlane figures are not great, but they make really good customs when you work on them.
McFarlane figures are really, really easy to customize and kit bash, which does make them a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't. Well, for me, as I've said 5 billion times before, it's mostly just their DC multiverse line that I don't like. I like their other lines, but I just think their DC multiverse line is subpar. It's not. And I every time I say this in a video on YouTube, I get so much crap from the McFarlane taint huggers out there. But I'm sorry, Mattel did a better job.
Yeah.
Mattel did a better job with DC characters than McFarlane does. Yeah. And it's such a disappointment to go from that to what McFarlane gives us that I'm just like some of his stuff's good. Don't get me wrong. I have a couple shelves of McFarlane stuff, of his DC stuff. There are some good figures, but in general, I'm not a fan.
Hey, don't feel too bad. Both Matt and I are both 47 as well.
I mean, come on, this is cool right here. Morgan Freeman is a Green Lantern. Who would have thought you'd see Morgan Freeman in tights?
How is the ab crunch on the McFarlane figures? They have a ball peg at the top.
They don't have one. They don't have an ab crunch.
Nope.
That's
McFarlane rushes articulation on his figures, so sometimes they take more time and do really well, but most of the time they rush the articulation, so it doesn't move well.
Yeah.
Nothing's clearance properly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although, I will say that that Cyborg Superman is a fun figure to paint.
Mhm.
For all its other issues, which it's got plenty, the sculpt on that thing is fantastic. That thing's really good. So
Find hilarious, like the fact it's a 7-inch scale figure, Super 7 7-inch scale figure, but the McFarlane's like a head taller than the Super 7 figures.
Mhm. I mean, the Green Lantern right here, his joints are buttery smooth. Like, I don't have any issues with this at all.
that's because you lube all your McFarlane figures up.
No, I don't. Out of the box, I just display them, or I'll do like a head swap.
If you don't, you must be full of chafes.
Oh, I really like this panel, this comic panel.
That is a cool panel.
That actually just came out. That's for this comic. It's called Frankie Boy Monster by Morgan.
They really did a better job at the end of the line. They did. I actually have the Kingdom Come Superman figure from one of their final waves they did. That Mattel did for DC.
Mattel did a fantastic job for a long time, and then when they first started the multiverse wave, after they dumped DCUC, they had some issues there in the middle, and then they picked up and got really good there at the end. Of course, by that time it was too late, and McFarlane had gotten the license. But their DCUC line, and I mean, honestly, all the stuff Mattel was doing, whether it was DC Superheroes, DCUC, was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I'm sorry, Brunson. Like everybody started talking over top of you. What was about this comic? You said it was just came out.
Oh, did I miss? I'm sorry.
No, that page is from a comic that just came out. It's issue 3 of Frankie Boy Monster by.
Is it like the Young Frankenstein? What we saw in the previous panel?
Yep. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I did a 6-page short story for that issue.
Nice.
Yeah, it's also the same publisher as it goes, man. Cosmic Line Productions.
And hey, even Mattel back then when they were doing the line, they still did soft goods capes. So I'm like, how long did it take McFarlane to do soft goods? And this is from Justice League movie. I got this at Ollie's for like $10.
There you go, Jared. Look at that He-Man.
I know. That is an awesome He-Man. Was this a commission piece?
No, that was just for fun. I remember. I think I don't know. I really wanted to draw that day, couldn't think of what, and then I was like, "Fuck, I'm just draw He-Man." And then, yeah,
can't go wrong with He-Man.
Yeah, I want to do more Masters of the Universe stuff. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Ooh, that's a nice, clean Prowler right there.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was.
I like Irwin's comment. Mattel using the Motu body for the Dark Knight Returns Batman genius.
Yep.
And Matt,
Irwin pages are. Irwin says these pages are killer, Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who and what is this? This, I don't know, something about a frog in a spacesuit with a sword that piques my interest. This is the kind of thing, if I saw this as a cover in a comic shop, I'd be like, I want to know what that is.
So that's from well, this was fan art, but it's going to be in the next issue of the actual book. But that's from Tales of the Frog Knight by Armand Bodner.
Oh wow, I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's a really cool comic. The second issue is about to go up on Kickstarter like next week. Highly recommended. It's literally just about this frog that's a knight, and it's like these short stories collected, and it's like the greatest thing I've ever read in my life. Honestly, like I read.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I read that, and I look back at my own work, and I'm like, damn, man, this like what I'm doing is so unimportant. the writing in that is so good, so good.
Nice.
Ooh, Rocksteady and Bebop.
Oh yeah, that is that piece is up for sale because Cosmic Line that's also my art rep. So he like some of my original art is up for sale on the site, so that one is for sale right now. I forgot how much though.
Let's see. Oh, we got Blade. Oh, and you got those good Blade 2 vampires.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what were they called?
Reapers or Reavers?
Was it just the Reapers?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought they had some vampire name too. Oh no, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of when Guillermo del Toro did The Strain.
Right.
And he basically ripped off that idea, and he called him, what did he call him? Strigoi, I think, in that show.
Yeah, well, Strigoi, I think, is an ancient name for a vampire.
Oh, maybe that's I don't know, but I just know that like that idea was like because he had that was a comic book first. They wrote that as a comic book before they made it into that TV series. There was a comic book and then a book, and then it became a book series, and then they turned it into that TV show, The Strain, which left a little bit desired by the end, but it was still okay. But no, that's the Blade 2. I get crap for this all the time, but Blade 2 by Guillermo del Toro is my favorite one.
Yeah, the Strigoi is like they were kind of mixed between vampires and zombies type thing. Depending on like how the lead vampire, like what kind of worm they gave him. Interesting methodology too of like infection is using those worms instead of just being infection from the bite.
Yeah.
So now that we got Blade up on the screen, where do you fall on the Blade MCU thing? Do you fall on the side of, I guess, what Marvel Studios wants to do, which is just put out new Blade movies with new characters, or were you like me, where when I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, and Blade walked around the corner, I screamed in the movie theater, "God damn it, it's him!" And I'm just like, because we've been talking about that. I've been talking about that for years. Me and Jared have been talking about that for a long time. Like, there is no reason Wesley Snipes can't keep playing Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Blade, the movies, obviously, and then I love Wesley Snipes as Blade, but I do want to see a new interpretation. I'm just curious. I'm just sick of the multiverse shit. Like, I want to see new interpretations of all these characters. Like,
yeah, I do too. But
they had the perfect opportunity too before they start doing all the multiverse stuff. They could have just had Blade show up and just explain that where he's a daywalker, he ages normally.
Yeah.
And
for me, it's just it's first of all
like a Whistler role, and have a protege.
Did any of you guys watch the Marvel anime show? Well, there's a few of them, but there was one for Blade. Back in, like, I don't know, sometime in the 2010s, maybe it was like 2011. Any of you guys see that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that is.
I did.
Yeah, that I love that show. That's kind of like definitive for me, honestly.
It's a really good adaptation of Blade in that show.
They did some stuff with his lore that like made it a lot more interesting. Instead of Whistler, what was it, a descendant of Van Helsing? I thought that was
well, that would make great sense.
Yeah. And he that was kind of more of a reason for him to hate vampires, because it's like, Deacon Frost killed his mom, and it's like, okay, that's motivation, but it's like he didn't know his mom, so like, why would and in the show, I guess after his mom gave birth, he lived in a brothel with a bunch of women, and his mom didn't actually die. She became a vampire. She came back and killed all the women in that brothel who raised him. So that made him hate vampires even more. And that kind of like added to his lore a little bit, made it more, I don't know, just made it cool.
They did that too in the Blade movies, and then they did that in Spider-Man animated series.
Well, she did survive in like the movies, but she wasn't in a brothel type thing.
Yeah, but he didn't know about it until, he didn't even find out she was alive until he's an adult and already doing his thing. So I don't know, man. I was a huge fan of Wesley Snipes before those movies came out. Like, you know, I grew up with Passenger 57 and like just all these movies that you know, he was a cool action star. And then Blade was just kind of like the pinnacle, I think, of Wesley Snipes fandom. And those movies are so good. And especially growing up a comic book geek, and you know, Marvel never really could get off the ground. I mean, they tried, you know, they had the old Incredible Hulk TV series. They had the old Spider-Man TV series that I remember watching reruns when I was a kid in the 80s. You know, they tried to do that awful Captain America movie in the 80s, and then they tried to do another awful Captain America movie in the 90s, and then there was the infamous Fantastic Four movie that nobody saw, and I never even saw it until, you know, I don't know, 2010 or something. And so when Blade came out, and it was not just cool, we're finally getting a Marvel movie with a Marvel character, but it was actually really goddamn good. Like, it was really good movie.
First time you get to see, hey, a comic book character can be serious.
Yes. Yeah. And it was just such a cool thing. And those movies were so, I even liked the third one. And I know a lot of people hate the third one. I like the third one. It's not the best one, but I like those movies. And I think there's so much that is owed to those movies and Wesley Snipes as far as where the MCU was able to get, that I would love to see in more than just 5 minutes of screen time. I would love to see Wesley Snipes be able to come back and play Blade again, even if it's just for like one movie before they, I don't know, reboot the universe in Secret Wars or something. You know, I would love to see him get a chance to come back and do that again and kind of complete the circle, as it were, so that you can now officially go back and say, yep, see, those were the original MCU movies. You know, they all took place in the same universe.
Which they could do before they reboot Blade. Just have them like conclude it, and after Secret Wars, that's when you bring in Ali or
Mahershala Ali. Yeah, is he even still attached to the movie? Because I heard at one point he was like, "No, I'm not doing it anymore."
I like him as an actor. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
I just can't see him as Blade. That role doesn't seem to suit him.
I've just never seen him do anything action oriented. I've only ever seen him do like more serious roles and stuff. So I know what you mean. I think he is a good actor. And I think one thing that the MCU has proven is that you can get all kinds of people to play all kinds of things when it comes to this. I mean, you know, going back and watching, you know, I don't know, you know, any of the, This Is 40 movies or whatever, or going back and watching Clueless, a lot of people would have never guessed that, you know, Paul Rudd would have made a great Ant-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot. I think there's a lot that can be done. And so I don't have anything. I don't have a problem with him playing Blade. I think he probably would have done a great job, and maybe he still will. I don't know if he's even going to do the movie anymore. It's been 7 years since they announced it, but
he already had a really good Marvel role too when he played the villain. Was it Cottonmouth or no?
Yeah.
But which he got, that character got done so bad. That should have been the main villain all the way through. Which they near the end they switched to that politician lady, then went to another villain with a power suit. It's like, why did you switch?
Bushmaster was pretty cool, but I think they could have done a lot more with him.
That should have been It's a shame we didn't get season 3 of that series. Because when it concludes, it's like, wait a minute, is Luke Cage
Well, most of those shows were actually getting better as they went along. The only exception was Jessica Jones got worse for some reason. I don't know why. That one just, like, first season was great, and then it just got worse and worse.
Fantastic villain, and you don't kill your fantastic villains. That's what they did with Luke Cage. They killed Cottonmouth, and don't kill your main villain off.
Yeah. Well, those shows got better. I mean, even Iron Fist, which was first season was awful, and the second season was actually like, whoa, this is actually pretty good. What the hell happened? Like,
Yeah.
I was not expecting the second season to be good. And then they just canceled them all, which, I guess we're getting some of them back anyway now. But
How do you feel about the
what? The Punisher?
Yeah, how'd you feel about that show?
I liked that show a lot. I think that John Bernthal was a great choice for Punisher. I think it was a very different Punisher than other versions. He was much more grounded. But I think it worked for that universe. I think it worked really well for that universe. Would it have been the Punisher story I would have written? No.
I don't like the fact where too they worked in one of the reasons he basically is the Punisher. He got brain damage.
Yeah. I think the main thing I dislike. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I really like him as the Punisher. They put him through the same arc kind of like 3 times.
And when he brought back the guy who should have been Jigsaw, he didn't have no scar. I'm sorry, his face was jacked the F up. And he had no scars. There's no plastic surgeon that good.
I love Jigsaw from the Punisher Warzone movie.
Yeah, that was Jigsaw.
Yeah. I'm somewhat of a, I don't know. Some people say I'm a Punisher apologist when it comes to all that, because I like each iteration of live action Punisher we've gotten, going all the way back to the Dolph Lundgren movie back in 89, I think.
Yeah. It was
because again, I watched it as a kid and I loved it. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, this is a character, the Warden from Ironclad Studios, I think is the name of the publisher. Yeah, they had me draw this piece. Yeah, and I have there's another Wolverine.
And everybody in the chat, I suggest go to Brunson's Instagram and give him a follow. He's just such amazing work over
there.
there.
I'll put the link in the chat. I think you've already got it in the description, but I'll put the link in the chat.
Thanks, guys.
Right there.
These are just some recent pieces.
Good comment. He made a good comment. Dolphin, his naked meditation. What was that all about?
Hey man, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Dude, his family was killed. He's living in the sewers.
It kind of sucks too that he was not allowed to wear the skull on his t-shirt. So they put the skull on his knife.
Yeah.
And I think I agree Dolph could have been a good choice, but the writing was terrible. The writing was awful.
He was the smartest man ever played a Punisher.
Yes.
Yeah, chemical engineer.
And just like He-Man, they limited his speech because he, at the time, could not speak real good English.
No, he could. He just had an accent.
Yeah.
Well, the accent.
He had an incredible. If you've ever listened to him talk, even back in the 80s, in interviews and stuff, he just had an accent when he talked, but he was incredibly well spoken.
Maybe I think he has speaks English better than you did when he's like, he not speak good English.
But no, Dolph Lundgren was a pretty good choice for Punisher. It's just the writing was not good. Then again, what was the mind at the time with
Plus, Louis Gossett Jr. in the movie too.
Yeah,
who's awesome, by the way.
Yes.
Louis Gossett Jr., one of my favorite aliens ever from Enemy Mine. I love that movie. No, I'm kind of a Punisher apologist. I like all the movies and TV shows. I like the Dolph Lundgren. I like the Thomas Jane version. I like the Ray Stevenson version. I like the Netflix version. I've enjoyed them all. They're all very different takes on Punisher.
It's funny, like the Ray Stevenson one used to get a lot of hate because to me, I thought it was one of my favorites. Because
I remember when that movie came out, and I heard it was coming out, and I wanted to see it so bad, and it was not playing at any movie theaters near me, and I had to wait till it showed up on DVD to get it because it wasn't play. It was a very low budget movie. It was released in very few theaters across the country, and I had to wait till it showed up on DVD. So I think at the time I had probably to wait like 6 to 8 months before I finally got to see this movie that I wanted to see back in, when was that one? 2006, 2007, something like that.
2008.
2008. There you go. And it was perfect. It is by far the most comic accurate version of Punisher that has ever been put to live action, like hands down.
Similar, kind of similar thing. It's not to that level that they with the Ed Norton Hulk movie.
Mm-hmm.
You get as big a push. Iron Man got a much bigger push, but it came out the same time as that horrible M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Happening, came out, and that took all the big theaters. They put that in, and they would put the Hulk in like the smallest theater in a theater. The one local theater I was at, they put M. Night Shyamalan's movie in like the big digital screen and like the big sound system, and they put Hulk in their smallest theater.
By the way, that Hulk movie is really good. I just watched that last week again just because I kind of got a bug up my ass. I was like, man, I haven't watched this in a while. That movie's fantastic. That is a great Marvel movie.
Yes.
The first one is awful. The Hulk from 2003 is a steaming pile of shit.
Okay. There actually, you can find this on YouTube. My wife showed this to me. It's called The Incredible Shrek. So they actually took the 2003 Hulk and put Shrek over as him.
Oh, I've seen it. Well, I've seen clips of it. I don't know if I obviously haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen little clips of it where, and he's got the Shrek face and everything, and they CGI'd it. Yeah,
I will say the only redeeming thing about the 2003 movie
is when it was over.
Sam Elliott as General Ross.
Oh, okay. You're right. He was. Oh, I'll say this. I'll say he was a great General Ross, and Jennifer Connelly was a great Betty.
Yes,
the Rosses were better in that movie than they were as far as casting goes.
100%.
Incredible Hulk. Other than that,
Eric Bana was too awful. Eric Bana was too much of a pretty boy, and plus he's kind of built. he's
what's his face? He's not. I mean, he had just come off of doing what was the Greek movie? Why am I blanking? Troy. He had just come off of doing Troy,
with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, with Brad Pitt, and he starts doing the Incredible Hulk, and it's like, you don't look like a scientist, bro.
But Banner's supposed to be a meek little guy.
I will say it does kind of suck that that Marvel didn't bother to cast Sam Elliott back as General Ross. So instead, they cast Harrison Ford instead.
We've talked about that before, yes.
I know, it's like give the man another chance.
Already played the role, and they're pretty much the exact same age.
Yeah, they're like the same age. Anyway.
Yes,
younger than Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm. But who knows? I haven't seen Sam Elliott in a while, so maybe he's gotten to a point where he's like,
he's acting
doing this stuff anymore. I don't know.
He just did the Yellowstone series.
Oh, that's right. He did, didn't he? 1886 or whatever it was called, 1883.
He looks great. He was doing his
That's right. He did just do that. Never mind. I stand corrected. I'm wrong.
I could see why they want Harrison Ford though, so he can get a paycheck. Because he even said it to Anthony Mackie and said, "Let's get my money."
Well, anyway.
Yeah, I've always liked Thomas Jane's Punisher a lot better. I don't know why.
Look, I think they're all great takes on Punisher in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are perfect. The closest one is Punisher Warzone.
Yeah,
which is the most comic book accurate. But I like all of them. I love the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. I watch that movie at least once a year. I love that movie.
Not only is Thomas Jane movie, they went overboard killing the family.
They were like, we're gonna wipe out everybody, even related to you through marriage. We're gonna wipe out.
I remember the first time I saw the movie, I actually got the skull, the Punisher t-shirt with that same skull from the movie. I have that still in my closet.
And I love the Dirty Laundry short film.
Yeah, I showed that to my wife not too long ago after we watched the Thomas Jane one, and she said, that is a great short film. I'm like, yes. It is.
I got a question for you, Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do your own colors on these pieces, or you work with each other?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That is Incredible.
That's Apocalypse when he sees some stuff going on with Rogue.
Well, that one, so like I did pencils and I have my own inked version of this, but those inks and those colors and that one, that's from Erwin Papa.
Hmm.
So yeah, he inked over like my pencils and colored it.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, same.
Looking thickums.
Yeah, so that's Erwin's pencils and inks and my colors.
Now those are some thighs I could get behind. I'm just saying, come on.
Skull crunchers.
Yeah, straight. What a better way to go. There is no better way to go.
I see a 27 right there.
Oh yeah, my birthday.
That's a great Snake Eyes cover.
Thanks.
Matt, you should show him your Snake Eyes custom.
He doesn't give a shit.
No, I'll, I'm a Joe fan.
That is cool.
And I have to say,
and that's when they were coming out with those blank covers, those sketch covers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was somebody.
They do it a lot with number ones. They do a lot of blanks. You can go to your comic book retailer and stuff like that and request them. Like you can have some for your shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's fine. Here's the Snake Eyes figure. The one I just customized.
Oh, right. Yeah. I just watched that video. Yeah. That's dope, man.
Just finished him up, which was easy. That dude was really easy to do. Had a lot of fun because they haven't given us just a regular ninja bodysuit Snake Eyes yet.
Yeah.
Other than the Snake Eyes movie figure, that's the only thing really.
Well, he's not really a clean bodysuit either, though. It's got a lot.
I know, but I'm saying close to like Ninja Snake Eyes.
Well, the movie one's got all the armor pieces all over. He's got the armored cod piece and everything.
Yeah, I've got that figure somewhere around here.
Oh, Casey Jones, nice.
I remember when those came out. Those were everywhere on shelves. Nobody would buy them. The Snake Eyes movie figures, and they hit clearance a lot.
Those Snake Eyes movie figures are great for customs. I've got like 6 of them that I've used in customs for different characters. So they work great. And when they were, I mean, they're not anymore, but when they were at Ollie's for $7 or $7.99 or whatever they were, I would go pick them up every time I saw one. I'd go grab one.
They were $5.
Oh, $5 everywhere. Oh, dude, that's awesome right there. Look at that. That's so like old school Mirage Studios.
Thanks.
That looks awesome. Like not quite old school. Not when they still looked all short and dumpy, but like by the time they got like, I would say because when I started reading the Mirage Studios Ninja Turtles was probably because I think that series started in 85, 86, and I probably didn't start reading until like 88. And and Eastman and Laird had come a long way in their art in those few years. Because when they first started, their artwork had, they were much more simple, and and their art had gotten refined a lot after a few years, and that reminds me a lot of that era of Ninja Turtles, that kind of late '80s where they were. And I think if you read those books, I mean, the books were always very, very different than what kids got on TV and stuff like that. But I felt like when the show came out, when the Ninja Turtles cartoon came out, they went even harder in the comics. They were like, we're going to definitely distinguish a very, very clear difference between comics and cartoon. And they got really, really dark, which was awesome. Because I was of the perfect age. I loved the cartoon. I had all the toys. I had all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool as a comic book fan who loved, again, black and white comics that were rated R that I wasn't supposed to read because I was only like 11 years old or whatever. Like I loved the stuff they were doing in the comics as a contrast to what I was watching on TV. It was awesome. And that's what that reminds me of. That reminds me, that picture right there makes me remember being like 11 years old in 1988 reading original Ninja Turtle comic books. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. That's
Camera.
nice. Look at that, dude. That picture. That's another one where it just. I'm just repeating myself, but just the cleanliness of your artwork, just how clean that shit is.
Thanks, man.
It's just crisp and clean, and that looks awesome, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, that one's got and I don't do it too much now, but I do use like traditional like screen tones, dots or whatever. Yeah, so that one's got those on them.
There's your monkey.
Got Batman right there.
Oh yeah, that was a character design for a this guy I know who he makes custom figures. I guess make one like a Batman that looks like this.
That'd be so cool as an action figure.
Yeah,
That's cool, man. He's kind of got a samurai ninja look down on his feet.
Yeah,
It sort of looks similar to.
Whoa. That got loud all of a sudden. I don't know what that was.
It was an echo on his end. It looks sort of similar to Gotham by Gaslight Batman.
Kind of, but I'm getting a little bit of a ninja vibe here with like the pants and the open-toed sandals and shit, like, and the way the gauntlets are strapped onto his wrist and stuff.
Yeah,
the cowl and the head sculpt looks like it's similar to White Knight Batman.
Yeah, that's a cool design. See, Todd should be paying you to
actually wait a minute.
Figures. It'd be better than the shit he comes up with.
Actually, wait a minute. That look right there could have been what Ben Affleck looks like in his movie.
Oh, one of my favorite Image characters, Max. I love Max.
Yeah, I still got that piece too.
Max is awesome. I was a big fan of Sam Keith's artwork back in the day. But there was something I like very unique art. I tend to gravitate toward, even if it's like not the cleanest looking art, but just something that looks different. Because again, you know, especially during the 90s when I was reading comics, dude, everybody was trying to draw like either Todd McFarlane or Rob Liefeld. And every comic looked the same, and every artist was drawn the same. And even some artists that before then and then since then have gone on to have very different, unique styles of art that make them stand out. Yeah. During the 90s, they were all drawing the same, and it was so overdone. And Sam Keith's art popped and stood out in a way because it was different, you know. And I always like that. My no offense to present company. My favorite artist has always always been oh my God, do you ever just do that? Just completely just shit out your brain? God damn it. Jared, I've talked about this dude 5 billion times. What's his name? The dude that did all the Valiant stuff in the early days. Why am I completely blanking on the artist's name? Barry Windsor Smith. Oh, yeah. I hate it when that's what happens when you get old. Look forward to your absolute favorite artist since you were a kid and you just completely forget his name. Yeah, Barry Windsor Smith. I love Barry Windsor Smith. He's always been my favorite artist because his art looked different than everybody else's. No matter, and he stayed consistent when he was doing whether it was Valiant Comics or whatever in the 90s. His art still looked like his art. He didn't go in with any trends. Yeah, exactly. Irwin, Weapon X. When he did the Weapon X story in Marvel Comics Presents back in the early 90s, which is what, 90, 91, when he did those issues? Dude, that artwork was just gorgeous. And then going back to when he used to do Conan in the early 80s. And I like it when an artist, when there's something unique and you can tell just by looking at them, okay, I know whose art that is. And I feel the same way about Simpson. What's his face? What's his first name? Simpson? Walt Simpson? Walt Simpson from the 80s, who did all the Thors and all the Fantastic Fours and stuff at the time. And is it like Simmons? Is it Simonson? Simpson? Walt Simpson? I always mess up his name. What's his name? Now I feel like I messed it up. Did I mess it up? Simonson. Walt Simonson, not Simpson. Wrong. Not Bart. Walt Simonson. Anyway, he did some of the most gorgeous, beautiful, like Fantastic Four and Thor covers back in the day. And his artwork, like in the books, looked the same, right? Like it was just gorgeous. I loved when he did, because he did a lot of Thor. He did like Baldur's limited series, and he did a lot of stuff. You know, anytime they would do something with Asgard or whatever, they'd call him in, and he did Fantastic Four forever. And I like artwork that pops and is different and unique, and just doesn't look like somebody's just trying to do what everybody else at the time is doing. And there was so much of that when I was reading comics in the 90s that it drove me nuts. Anyway, I just went on a little rant there for no reason. Sorry. Oh, Venom. Look at that. That's great. Damn, everybody got quiet. Look at that. What happened? Oh, we lost him.
Uh-oh.
We lost him. I don't know when. I was just talking. I was ranting. And we lost him. It's my fault. He was like, shut the fuck up, dude. Stop talking about, like, the fuck. I'm sorry.
Everyone with Walt Oren series was good. There was one issue where Walt's Orion
right,
series. Yeah. And he fought Darkseid and fought throughout the whole issue.
Walt was really, really good at that type of stuff. I mean, whether he was doing Asgard stuff or he was doing New God stuff, he was, I think, a perfect person to like take over. Like he was in many ways for me, he was kind of the heir to Kirby with the way he was able to do, like, you know, Kirby Crackle and just his art style was, I think it lent itself very well to the same characters that Kirby had helped create and make famous. His artwork's great. I'm sorry.
Oh, our guest.
I feel bad that Brunson, he just left. He was like, fuck this shit, man. I gotta go. These motherfuckers are talking too goddamn much. Anyway, I'm still gonna look at his art. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I hope he's all right. He probably did. I'm just gonna assume he was. I'm just gonna assume he was like, "No, fuck these dudes." No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think that's what happened. But
might have lost connection or something. I mean, we do all the time. So
this is true. That's sweet.
That's a nice drawing right there.
I am running off batteries, so.
Oh. Well, we're almost done. We're almost to the end of the chat here.
Well, we're halfway through. I mean,
we're more than halfway through.
Hey, you need to work on your math.
No, I just looked at the timer. I just looked at it.
Yeah, look, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was saying. Just this nice, look at this nice, clean artwork.
I know.
And again, he's not using a lot of line work to make up for, you know, lack of design or anything like that. It's just really, really crisp and clean.
Yep. It's clean, but still has a lot of motion to it.
Yeah.
Oh, Huma.
There you go. When are we going to get that figure? We will eventually. Oh, that's just a cool looking picture. I don't even know who that is. That looks awesome though. It's a mummy man with broken antlers. Again, I don't know who that is. It's just a cool looking picture.
Then again, too, you got to think, if you're working for a corporation like a big one like Marvel and DC, and you're drawing their comics, especially covers, they might give you a deadline. You have to get a cover done.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that too. While Bronson don't have to be in no hurry to get anything done. He can take his time, but you got to think, artist who is under an obligation, under a contract, has to get something out by a certain date, has to be rushed.
So you know who we need to get in here, because we've got Irwin out there in the chat too. We need to get him on one of these one day. Show us all his artwork too.
Yes, sir.
And then piss him off by talking over him until he just was like, "Fuck you guys," and leaves, just like Brunson did.
even though this stream was about talking about an artist and a drawings, we still went on about toys during it. So it's like no matter
we do that all the time, but
we can't
no,
quit-
we don't get to talk about comics that much. I mean, we do sometimes, but let's be honest. I mean, there's not a lot of great comic books out there anymore. Certainly not mainstream comics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's nice to kind of like, and especially for me, because most of my experience with comics is like pre-2000, and then since then has been like sprinkled little bits here and there. So I love going and talking about the old books and the old artists and writers and stuff that I grew up with in the 80s and 90s, you know, and we don't get to talk about that much on the show because we're always talking about toys, which I love talking about toys too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Erwin's saying, what customs you guys working on? I got the ones I've been working on. I did the Snake Eyes. I did the Punisher. I've got my Ram that I did, that I posted the video on the other day, my G.I. Joe Ram. And then I've got my Rye, which I haven't done the video on. I've done the video. I just haven't gone. It hasn't gone live yet. Have I shown that? I know, because I wasn't here last week.
No, the head sculpt. I was mentioning the Punisher he used, like the head and everything was like a tactical Punisher.
Yeah.
I was just making a joke. Said, didn't Hasbro already make that one?
So here's my Rye that I finished. That I already did the video on. I just haven't posted on the channel yet. But here's my Rye that I finished up.
Very nice. Very nice.
So that's the other custom that I just finished. And everybody can give me shit. I know my stuff's not as good as Jared's. It's okay. Oh, and I did do what else did I did do I did redo my Conan as well, which I showed you guys in the chat and on Facebook, but I redid my Conan and I got him a little bit more where I want him as opposed to what he did look like.
I like the square jaw and that new face.
Yeah. And I did the hair. The hair came out, and I put just some light, really light highlight, some blue highlights in the hair to make it pop. I redid I matte finished the whole thing. I redid all the gold. I had left the original gold pieces from the figure. I redid them in silver because I was like, yeah, Conan wouldn't wear gold. And so I redid that, repainted all the brown on here, did dry brushing on the boots and his loincloth and all that. Redid this knife because this knife originally was just a gold knife. So I redid it in silver with a leather wrap handle. And yeah, I just touched it up. It needed to be updated.
Do you prefer?
Because I got to at least try and keep up with, you know, Jared fucking doing pimp ass customs all the time. I got to try at least not to feel bad about myself every time I do a custom. And then he does one even better than mine. It's okay. It's okay.
Keep him watch for see if he comes back. Hope everything's all right with him.
Oh, he said power went out. Yeah, he just dropped in.
Okay.
Yes, Erwin, this is a Masterverse figure, which works perfectly for my Marvel Legends setup because this Masterverse figure is the same size as Marvel Legends Thor figures. And that's what I want Conan to be. I want him to be that big. So this Masterverse figure actually worked really well for Conan.
So I used a Hercules for mine.
That's the
mine's bigger, so suck it.
That's the new Masterverse.
My Conan will kick your Conan's ass, even though your Conan's prettier.
That's the new Masterverse body, Matt. The new one.
No, it's not the new one. This is what was his name? Was it Vicron or something? He was like the Viking version of He-Man.
Yeah. Vicron.
Yeah, that's that body.
It was just the Viking He-Man. The Vicron was the.
Is that what? Yeah, the Viking He-Man, whatever that one was. The Viking He-Man. Then
I was going to say for Conan, the new Masterverse body is a lot bigger, is a little bit bulkier than that one. I mean, this is a good body to use for Conan.
So Erwin's saying, what's your preferred way to prevent paint rub? Don't paint something? No.
That actually is the best way.
The best way is to which is why with this dude and with my Snake Eyes, I took your advice to the extreme with the permanent marker. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't know if you've ever tried that. It works like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
You might.
I don't know. You told me like you can use it to touch up little spots, but I totally went overboard, and I was like, dude, I did all his legs in permanent marker to dye the surface, and then let it dry for a couple hours, and then came back and wiped it down, so there wasn't anything left on the surface, just in case whatever didn't soak into the plastic. And dude, like, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Most people have suggested if you're going to go like that, you use a Gundam marker, because a permanent marker over time, and I've used it for figures as well, it will turn purple.
No, I know that. That's not the point. You're using it as a base to dye the surface of the plastic a darker color. That's not the color you're using. I still paint over it. But what that means is if there's any little bits, paint chips, any imperfections, right, in my paint job, which again, there will be because it's me, but you're not going to notice them because the color of the plastic underneath has been dyed black. And yeah, sure, it may have a slight purple hue to it, but it's not going to be noticeable. You know what I mean?
If it's a pin figure, you can actually, what I do, I'll take the joints apart, and I'll actually take that permanent marker and color over the edges, and take my Dremel grinding bits and just grind it off. Once you can't see the marker anymore, you have enough clearance to paint. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know I took it to the extreme of what you told me to do, but it worked great for both of these figures.
And also, too, the newer paints that I've been using, the Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color stuff, it's a lacquer, and it bonds to the plastic a lot better than like acrylics.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let that stuff dry, a lot of times you don't even have to worry about it, even pressing the joints. The figure I'm working on now, I painted the new Luke Cage figure all black. I didn't prep any of the joints on it, and I painted it with the black Mr. Color. Let it make sure it dried really well. No paint rub whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, though, is you were the one that got me to start using good paint, because I used that Vallejo stuff, which isn't awful.
Good paints is the biggest thing,
but it's not great either. So you got me using Mr. Color, what, about a year and a half ago, I think, and that stuff works fantastic.
But I will suggest, like Corey from Casting Cave, Harker Customs gave him some Mr. Color.
Mm-hmm.
He had an allergic reaction to it. So if you're going to buy Mr. Color, buy one bottle first. Make sure
you don't have allergic. That's got to be a one-off, though, man. That can't be a common thing.
I've never heard anybody else have that issue, but somebody had an anaphylactic shot reaction to paint. So I always get a little warning in it.
Well, I know I haven't. I've gotten that stuff all over me. So
mineral spirits, I don't use mineral spirits. I use for the longest time I've been using stuff called Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer, but they've changed the formula. I got the stuff I have right now is the old stuff. The newer stuff is not as good. What you could use too, it works just very similar, is the Mr. Color thinner. That's what about cleaning your brushes. That's very strong stripper too. If you need to take paint off figures too.
Here's a question, Matt and Jared.
Apple barrel stuff. It's not the best stuff, but if you're going to be doing dry brushing, something like that, it's kind of like all right to use that kind of stuff, because you waste a lot of paint dry brushing.
So, I will say the Mr. Color stuff is not. I mean, it's not as cheap as Apple Barrel, but it's not expensive. I on average for my paints, I pay about $2.50 a bottle. The only ones I pay more for is if I'm getting any of the metallic ones, like the silvers and stuff.
Yeah,
those cost more. Those cost me about $4 for a bottle of it. But on average, they're like $2.50. Now I order them online, so I don't know, but I forget where I order them from. Otherwise, I would say, because I'm completely blanking on where I get my stuff from. But something hobby shop. I don't remember what it's called. But that Mr. Color stuff works fantastic.
I think Harker even recommended the paint shop too.
Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, he's the one that told me about the paint shop, and I'm blanking on what the name of it was. I just ordered some a couple weeks ago. It's some shop that I know they're based out of California, but
Yeah.
but yeah, no, the Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color stuff has worked fantastic for me. I love that stuff. It works great, and it's again all your basic colors. Anything that's not metallic or whatever, again, is only about $2.50 a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
When I order from them, you got to pay for shipping and stuff. So whenever I order, I make sure I order enough that makes it worth the which the shipping's not that expensive. I think the most I've ever been charged shipping was like $5 or something. Yeah. But I use that stuff and it's great. I did like you were saying, somebody said, yeah, because of Ben, I used to use Vallejo, and it worked pretty good. The problem was it just wasn't durable long term for me. And I found that if you didn't use the right clear coat on it, it got very tacky over time. And a lot of those early figures that I did with Vallejo, I had to go back and touch up and refinish and you know re-clear coat and all that kind of stuff to them so that they last. Because I mean Vallejo's, and then Vallejo's, from what I remember, it's been a while since I bought some, but it wasn't ridiculously expensive. I mean, there's some of the colors that are, but honestly, I feel like Mr. Color is even cheaper though than the Vallejo was. And it's better paint for me. It holds up way better. And because it's acrylic versus what's the
Mr. Color is a lacquer and the other stuff's acrylics.
Acrylic, yeah.
Acrylics
it just lasts longer. And if Erwin's asking, is it okay to use acrylic over lacquer? I've done it several times and not had a problem. Now, does that mean that you should do that? I don't know. But like I said, there's been several figures that I had originally done in like Vallejo acrylic. And then I went back and redid them without completely taking them all down and sanding them and redoing everything. That I have redone and done lacquer on top of them, and I've not had an issue with it. I don't know, Jared, if you've done these way longer than I have. Have you ever done anything like that and had problems?
I normally don't go. My lacquer would be like the base, so I don't usually. Acrylic will go over lacquer just fine, but I don't know about lacquer over acrylic.
Yeah, like I said, I've done it.
Using a lacquer. If you're going over acrylic, because the lacquer actually bonds to the plastic better.
Yeah. So
I would go the other way around if it's going to do that. Put the lacquer down first, then acrylic.
I would just, honestly, if you have a choice, I would just say just use lacquer. Yeah. It's way better.
But if you're going to use the Mr. Color paints, buy the Mr. Color thinner. Because you got to thin the paints down if you're going to brush paint it. Or even if you're going to airbrush it, you still got to buy that thinner.
No.
And it also works as a good brush cleaner too.
Just be very careful on your figures. I have popped several torsos with that paint thinner. Yes. Because I will you gotta be real careful, because I'll like put some on a Q-tip to like take, like if you've got figures that have like something on their chest or whatever, and you're customizing it, so it's like, well, I want to take that off, dude. If you're gonna use that paint thinner, you got to wipe it on and then immediately wipe it off, because if it starts to soak into the surface of the plastic, and it will if you leave it there for more than a minute or two, it starts to fucking make the plastic brittle. And I've just had torsos just explode on me. Like brand new figures just crack apart. It doesn't do it now. It works fine. It works fine on PVC. It's ABS plastic, which ABS is the harder hollow plastic that like the figures' torsos are made out of. That's what it will crack. It won't mess with PVC. So the solid kind of slightly softer plastic that most of the arms and legs and stuff are made out of, it won't mess with that at all. It works fine on that.
It's good to have you like a little water to dip your stuff in, then rinse it up. Make sure to rinse it off. Yeah.
Don't leave it on. I would say, like, as you're wiping it down, dude, wipe it off at least every 30 seconds. If you're going to do that on any kind of ABS plastic, or do what you're talking about, which is rinse it off with water, something about every 30 seconds, because it will crack your ABS plastic figures. Brunson's back, and we have not let him speak, by the way. He just came back, and we're just fucking rattling off and shit.
Well, I didn't know how long you're going to be out for, like, when you said power's out. I still don't have power.
Is it? Oh, he's muted. Okay, that's why we can't. Okay. He may be doing something. I don't know.
No, I was muted.
Here,
Yeah,
y'all
good. I was listening. I was like, this is useful information. Let me just sit and listen.
On customs I'm working on, you answered yours. I got a few I'm working on. Mostly all original characters is what I'm big thing. I finished up my Rage upgrade. And now I'm just working on some original characters. I'm doing like a 3.0 of my main character lore, and I'm doing one of my main villains, Solarian, another villain, Death Scourge. Also have one of the heroes, Chrysos. That's the main ones I'm working on. I'm doing a Wonder Woman, painting a Wonder Woman head for a friend of mine in Scotland. Custom cannon design. I look the head sculpt for it. I think it's like Red Sun's Wonder Woman head, something like that. She's got a black tiara. There you go, Matt. It's like you can try to figure it out again.
Wait, what? What site do you get? Oh, God. Let me see if I can find it in my emails. Because yeah, let me look. Give me a second here. I'm gonna try and find it. It's something hobby, something. Burbank's House of Hobbies. Yeah, it's in my email. Burbank's House of Hobbies. Let me put the link in here. Let me get this link. It's just called houseofhobbies.com. I'm going to put the link in the chat for anybody that wants it. This is where I buy my Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color paint. So if you like, I buy. They have really good prices. They got all the colors you can think of and everything else. You can get all your stuff there. And like I said, on average, I pay like $2.50 per bottle. Other than the metallic stuff, which I pay like $4 or $4.50 for.
I saw a tutorial that if you airbrush, like there's a certain silver they make, you can polish it like I do the chrome powder, the graphite powder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
You use their clear. You airbrush the silver on and use their clear, and you can polish it. And it will get more like a metal finish, just like the.
I still haven't messed around with that graphite powder you sent me. I need to do it. I think I'm going to start with something small, like maybe on my custom Snake Eyes, do his visor and his sword, and see how that works. So maybe I'll start with something small like that before I go do like my Silver Surfer or something. You know?
Yeah. Well, I would mask off like the face and just.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I need to do that. I've been meaning to do it for so long. That thing you sent me, that graphite powder, has just been sitting in my closet forever with the rest of my supplies, and I'm like nervous to use it. I don't know why. I tear up figures all the time, but for some reason with that I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to fuck it up. But
now, just be careful with it, because when I used it without a mask, like a respirator one time, I like blew my nose, and it's like it's coming down my nose.
Oh shit.
That stuff is super, super fine. It's like arm's length away, and yet it's still breathe it in.
All right. Well, I hate to cut and run, but I got to cut out, ladies and gentlemen.
And Brunson, thank you again for coming on and like talking about what the Kickstarter project again. If you can bring that back up right quick.
Yeah, let me get it pulled up. It is here. Let me put that in the chat one more time for everybody. Go over there and give at least $1. Just drop $1.
Yeah.
Drop $1. Nexus. I mean, if you can do more, do more. I'm not saying just right. Like if you can do more, then obviously do more. But like, $1 or something, man. This thing looks awesome.
Just awesome, like retro style sci-fi horror anthology series, just beautifully done. Some very talented artists. Definitely go check this project out. Back it if you can, and it's just great.
Yeah, if this gets funded, we definitely plan on doing more quarterly. Like I think the plan is to do them quarterly throughout the year. But yeah, it all kind of hinges on like if we get this one funded and out there. So
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you coming on and talking about the project. It's just so cool.
And it's nice to talk to somebody about comics too. We don't get to talk about comics too often because there's not a lot worth talking about in Marvel and DC anymore.
Yeah, I feel you.
All righty. Well, that Matt's got a chat he has to go into here in a minute, and so we'll let go ahead and close out the show.
Right,
and everybody in the chat, thank you again for coming out and hang out with us tonight. Sorry I can't be on camera. Maybe you like it better if I'm not. Yeah, man.
Oh, wait, I got to do this closing, don't I? Not you. I got to do it. Which one's the ending? I don't know which one's the ending, dude. You got one that says outro?
No, that's a different one. Let's see.
I don't know which one it is. I'm just going to play something, and that's what we're... Oh, new outro? I don't know if that's the right one.
Collector Fusion outro.
Oh, there we go. All right, bye, guys. Now that I found it, we'll see y'all later.
Ninja vanish.